So if you have one of these Apple cards, then you have to watch this video because Apple just gave us a nice little update to all Apple Card users, and if you don't have an Apple Card, then maybe what Apple updated this with might entice you enough to apply for one, because now the Apple Card as a zero-fee credit card, I'd put it up there as one of the best. Let me get into it. So I recently made a video, which I'll link down below, kind of recapping the Apple Card because it's been out for about 4 years now, and even though it's made some big headlines that the partnership between Goldman Sachs and Apple has lost Goldman Sachs billions of dollars, for the consumer, at least for right now, the Apple Card just continues to get better. So just as a quick little recap on what you get with the Apple Card, it is an absolute zero-fee card, so if you apply for it and you get approved, it doesn't cost you anything to actually hold on to the card. You have zero fees in terms of late fees or foreign transaction fees, no hidden cost. So at the end of the day, the Apple Card is a zero-fee card, and the categories that you get is Apple brought this out to give you 3% cash back on all Apple purchases, so that includes all Apple streaming services, all Apple App Store services, all in-app purchases as well. So anything that involves Apple, has an Apple logo, is Apple related, you're gonna get 3% cash back on that. You also get 2% cash back on anything Apple Pay related. So if you use your wallet app and use Apple Pay, then you're gonna be getting 2% cash back. And in the beginning, this wasn't a big selling point because in 2019, Apple Pay just wasn't fully there yet, especially here in the US. But now in 2023, Apple Pay is now at 85% of all US merchants, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And if I think about it on a day-to-day basis, my grocery store, my gasoline station, my coffee shop, even some online retailers, Apple Pay is pretty much everywhere. So I would almost say that the 2% category, you can pretty much use 100% of the time. And then for those one-off occasions where you have to physically use your card or physically type in your credit card number, then you get 1% cash back on everything else. But even things like restaurant nowadays, you can actually ask them if they take Apple Pay and they'll bring you the card reader for you to use Apple Pay here in the US, which is not the norm. I know it's the norm pretty much everywhere else, but here in the US, that really wasn't the norm up until recently. So this as a zero-fee card at 2% cash back with all Apple Pay, and then 3% cash back on all Apple purchases, as well as some other merchants like Nike, Panera. They've partnered with Apple to also give you 3% cash back. This is a great zero-fee card with a kind of lower barrier to entry. I've seen people with around 630 credit score be approved for this card and get pretty decent credit limits as well. So I would consider this more of like a little bit above a beginner card, but you get a lot of value out of it, especially now that Apple Pay is all over the place. And then Apple recently released their Apple Savings Account. Now, the Apple Savings Account is only eligible for Apple Card holders and users. You don't need to be a Goldman Sachs customer or anything like that, but if you have the Apple Card, you have the ability to deposit cash into this Apple Savings Account and earn 4.15% APY on that money. So basically, you can deposit whatever you want in there and you'll be earning 4.15%. I think the cap is actually $250,000, but you know, for the everyday person like myself and yourself, that limit isn't really going to matter. But the beauty of it is just how the whole ecosystem works. Now with the daily cash back, every single time you spend money on this card, you do get daily cash back. So at the end of the day, you're rewarded, you know, your 2%, your 3% cash back on your purchases, but now you can have it automatically deposited into that savings account. So you're automatically earning 4.15% every single year on the money that you're getting back from your purchases. So I know it's kind of a little bit convoluted, but it makes it very easy for the user experience. All you do is you use Apple Pay, you pay at the Apple Store, and then at the end of the day, you get your daily cash back, and that goes directly into your savings account. So it's almost like this passive savings account that you're never really gonna touch, and it's gonna be always accruing more and more money as time goes on, which I think is great for that kind of like financial education and give you kind of like a rainy day fund, which is what Americans really need, especially nowadays when everybody's living paycheck to paycheck and you see all these headlines of people not being able to even afford a $500 random expense. This is gonna be great for people to have as a rainy day fund or a vacation fund or just an overall savings account at the end of the day. Now, there are other banks that offer a little bit better return on investment in terms of your savings account. Like I personally use SoFi, they give you 4.3% cash back. Ally Bank, I think, gives you 4.3 or 4.4, but the 4.15% from Apple and the ease of use and how easy the app integrates and the wallet app works and just, you know, Apple does it the Apple way. I think it's worth it for a lot of people to stick with Apple because if you do everything on your iPhone already, you have the Apple Card, it just makes sense to kind of use that in that way. Now, I'm personally more of a travel credit card hacker, so I kind of like to earn miles and points with like Chase cards and American Express cards, but if you're a daily cashback person or just a cashback person in general, the Apple Card should be on the top of your list, especially if you have an iPhone. So I know that this isn't any new information, but I will link that video down below that goes a little bit more in depth. But the new update that Apple gave us is that every now and then Apple likes to throw random promotions out to Apple Card holders or even entice new people to sign up for it. But now, apparently for select users, and I was lucky enough to be one of those users, and a lot of people are seeing this. So if you do own an Apple Card, to actually see this new offer, which I'm about to explain, go into your Apple Wallet, go into your Apple Card. On the top right hand corner, hit your three dots and then click on Daily Cash. Now if you go into the Daily Cash and you scroll down, you'll see some offers like the $75 referral bonus and things like that. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that there's a new category for 5% cash back on dining and travel. You'll see it titled as Dining and Travel are better with the Apple Card. So this, again, is for select users, and in the fine print, Apple does state this. So I have noticed on Twitter that not everybody has it, but a lot of people did receive this. And again, you're not guaranteed to get this if you sign up for an Apple Card today or tomorrow, but it's something that Apple's enticing, or at least rewarding its current users and Apple Card holders with 5% cash back. And instead of getting the 5% cash back up to $100, this one's way more robust. So let me walk you through exactly what this means. So with this new promotion, Apple says that through September 20th, so it gives you about a month or so to do this, get 5% total daily cash back on up to $20,000 in total travel spend and up to $6,000 on total dining spend, which actually equates to up to $1,300 cash back. So if you do end up spending $26,000 in the next month on travel and food, you're gonna get a free $1,300 cash back, which you can automatically deposit into your savings account and then earn another 4.15% on that $1,300. So again, not everybody's gonna be able to do this. Not everybody can spend $26,000 on travel and dining in a 1 month period, but even if you spend $100 on dining or $200 on dining, or maybe you have a trip that you've been already planning on booking and you've budgeted for, put it on the Apple Card, right? Put it on the Apple Card, earn a 5% cash back, get the daily cash, put it in that savings account, or just use that cash back for something else on that trip itself. And what's really nice about this is that Apple's not limiting this to Apple Pay purchases. So whether you use Apple Pay digitally on your phone, use a physical credit card number, or use a physical titanium card, you're gonna get 5% cash back in those categories no matter how you actually spend that money on this card. Now to go a little bit more in depth with this, there are a couple of caveats, not just kind of a whole blanket system on travel and food categories in terms of dining. So like I mentioned earlier, Apple has partnerships with some merchants like Panera. So Panera is part of their 3% cash back on Apple Pay, even though normally you would only get 2% cash back on that kind of dining. But for this one, you do get up to 5% cash back on the actual daily cash merchants that Apple's partnered with. So you can only do it on up to $2,000 of qualified purchases. So you can only get up to basically $100 cash back at Panera because you can only spend up to $2,000. And then once you cross that $2,000, every dollar thereafter is going to go back down to 3%. Then you have another category, which is the dining and travel purchases on non-bonus daily cash merchants. So these are things that Apple isn't normally partnered with. So I think they're trying to incentivize purchases outside of the normal merchants, which is a little bit weird, but again, to each their own. So you get 5% cash back on up to $12,000 on that category of type of merchant. And then lastly, dining and travel purchases with virtual online number or titanium cards. So like I mentioned, you do have the ability to earn that 5% cash back on using the physical card and using the actual credit card number online, but that is limited to $12,000 to spend, so up to $600 that you can actually earn when you're using the physical card. Then you have the $600 you can earn when using Apple Pay, and then you have the $100 that you can earn with Apple Merchants. So again, that equates to that $1,300 of cash back, which would be tough to actually get done because again, you have to spend like $26,000 in a 1 month span, but that is there, and it's a very nice bonus that can entice people to use their Apple Card more, or B, actually sign up for the Apple Card. So I know that I just threw a bunch of numbers at you guys and it could be a little bit confusing. I love this credit card world, so the fact that Apple's kind of giving and being a little bit more competitive in this space is getting better and better. Because when the Apple Card first came out, if you weren't like a big Apple fanatic, then there was no real point to get it because yes, it was nice to get 3% cash back on all Apple services, and also being able to finance Apple products over a 12-month period with 0% interest. That's all great and dandy, but outside of that, there wasn't much incentive to use the Apple Card. But now that Apple Pay is being accepted pretty much anywhere in the US, and we're kind of getting to that point where Europe is at, I was just in Europe and there is no such thing as cash, basically, is what I'm noticing. When I was in Europe, everybody used Apple Pay, nobody used physical credit cards, nobody really used cash either. So the US is starting to get into that kind of form. So the fact that Apple Pay gives you 2% cash back makes this card almost like a catch-all card that beats the normal 1% cash back that all other cards get. But now that Apple's enticing us and getting more competitive with that 5% cash back on travel and dining, that really starts to put Apple in a different sphere because again, it's a zero-fee card. To get that type of bonuses, it's normally a $95 a year card, or maybe even more depending on what you're doing with that card. But I just wanted to give everybody exactly what Apple was giving us in terms of that 5% cash back. Maybe you guys will sign up for the card. Maybe you just didn't know it was even out there as an Apple Card user, but now you know that it's there. Use it until September 20th. Take advantage of it, but don't overspend. Only spend what you would normally spend and just enjoy the extra 5% cash back. Leave a comment down below. Have you guys signed up for the Apple Card? Do you have an Apple Card? I know that right now it's only US based. I wish it was a little bit more worldwide, especially maybe even in the UK at least. But for now, it's only in America for some reason. But let me know in the comment down below, would you get an Apple Card if you were in the US? All things that I'm curious about. And if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys wanna watch some more iOS, macOS, or iPadOS content, definitely get subscribed because we're also gonna be covering all the new iPhone stuff that's happening in September. But that's gonna do it. I'm Fernando. I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Sign up if you can.